Hi, I'm Lee. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. I'm a short, overweight, middle-aged white dude. I've got thinning brown hair, rectangular black glasses, I'm wearing a grey t-shirt, and I'm sitting in my office with three coloured lights behind me. And in this video, we're going to be concluding our series of our look at an overview of a 2017 Tesla Model S. Now, you might be wondering, I covered this a little bit in the intro, but you might be wondering, why would I be doing an overview of a 2017 Tesla Model S in 2023? Well, the reason for that is we were on holiday in New Zealand, so we rented the Model S while we were there, and I thought people might be interested in looking at maybe getting a second-hand Model S, because since the price drops in January 2023 of all Tesla models in the US, and particularly in the US, and there's been smaller price drops in a few other geos, you can pick up, like I saw, you could actually pick up a Model S, like this exact model, in fact a slightly newer model than this, from 2017. You can pick it up in Australia for about $55,000-$60,000, somewhere around there, which makes it an interesting proposition. Now, this was recorded in early January before the price changes happened, so my opinion was slightly different because I thought the car would cost more, but my overall summary remains the same, and you can get that summary when you watch the end of this video here. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the driving experience, some Autopilot stuff, and my overall thoughts on driving a 2017 Tesla Model S when at home I've got a 2022 Tesla Model Y. I hope this is helpful, and yeah, enjoy. So we're back in the passenger seat, and we're now going to look at the actual driving experience of the Tesla Model S 2017. Now, this little contraption is just something that I've worked on to try and get a way that I can film the dashboard in real time and still keep it safe, so I can still see my mirrors and see what's going on, all that kind of jazz. So let's get started. The first thing to do when you're starting the car, if you want to put it in reverse, you put your foot down on the brake pedal, push up on the gear stalk, that puts you into reverse, but I'm going to put us into drive, so I put my foot on the brake pedal, everything kind of comes to life, and I push down, and I'm in drive. And see, here's the weird thing with electric cars, is there's no, turn the ignition. We're good to go, we're going. And away we go. So, in terms of the comfort of the drive, I think it is a pretty darn comfortable drive in the Tesla Model S 2017. In terms of what you see on the dash when you're driving, you can see that at the top I've got my speed limit and my current speed. On the left hand side it shows me, now I've showed you before that you can customize this, and apologies if the sun's coming through and I'm getting a bit brighter, but it's filming in Auckland weather, this has been an experience. So on the left hand side it shows me just the information about my car, but if I actually start navigation, so let's say I just want to navigate to somewhere, it will then bring up my navigation over there on the left hand side, and you can see that it brings up the map and it starts working out where I need to go and how I need to go, and it'll actually show me go left, go right, and all that kind of stuff on the map, which is pretty cool. So that's definitely handy to have that down there in the bottom. On the right hand side, let me just cancel that navigation. On the right hand side you'll see I've got my power meter, and this is something slightly different from the Tesla Model Ys and 3s compared to the S that I've noticed. I really like this thing, but I can appreciate how it's sort of shaped and sized for a dash, so I can see how it may not work on the bigger screen of the Model S, Model Y and Model 3s. But basically how it works is that when you are putting your foot down on the accelerator and using energy from the battery, you'll see over there on the right hand side there's this little orange bar that shows how much energy. So if I put my foot down, I'm using even more energy, but then as I take my foot off, it turns to green. And what that means is when it's turning to green, I'm actually regenerating energy back into the car. So watch, so as I'm going up this hill now, you can see that it's orange because I'm pulling energy out of the battery, and then as I get over the hill and I start going down the hill, I'll take my foot off the accelerator and you'll see it turn to green because it's now using the regenerative braking to slow the car down and put that energy back into the battery. And I think the way that it shows it in this UI on the right hand side is pretty darn cool. Now, another thing to point out while you're doing it. It's actually quite a fun game to sort of watch that little orange dot, go up and down while you're driving, see, whether you're driving economically or not. I know I need to get out more, but that's what I consider a fun game. So that's the UI. Now you'll notice also in the speed that there's a little 40 next to the 50, and that's because we've just been driving through a school zone, and what it's saying is it's school holidays now and it's out of school times, but it's saying when that the speed limit is different at different times. So it is showing me that information. Now actually this is okay, we can go through that, so we're just going to go through this traffic circle, and that's actually, while we go through that traffic circle, that reminds me of a feature that I don't know whether it's just this car or whether it's all Model S's and Model X's, where they're different from the Model 3s and Model Ys, or maybe this is just an older car and this is why. But what I've found with the using regenerative braking with a one pedal driving, in my Model Y, when I am in a turning lane and not turning, so let me turn, when I am taking my foot off the accelerator, like if I come up to a complete stop, watch, I'm just coming up to a hill now, and I'll just pull over and use regenerative braking to slow myself down. In my Model Y, when I come to a complete stop, so I've just used the accelerator, I've just taken my foot off the accelerator, use regen braking, I'll come to a complete stop and I'll stay stopped. But you'll notice with this, I'm rolling back. So I actually have to put my foot down on the brake, and if I take my foot off the brake, then I've stopped. And I'm not using either feet on either pedals, and it's holding the car steady. But with the Model Y, I can do that without even touching the brake, whereas with this car, it seems that I do need to just at least put down on the brake to get that to work. And let's just get back on the road. So that is something that I've noticed a slight difference, where I definitely prefer how it works on the Model Y. But again, this may just be because this is a slightly older car. So if you do know, please let me know in the comments, because I'd be keen to know how that works. Other than that, there's not a lot else to talk about with the driving experience. You do get like all sort of warnings and dings and bongs, and if it looks like you're going to drive into a car, it'll ding 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 ding, and it'll warn you and all that kind of stuff. I do want to show you a little bit about Autopilot. Now I'm not going to show you everything about Autopilot, because I actually want to do a separate video that covers all of the Autopilot features. So the first thing that I want to show you is adaptive cruise control, and how this works is you push back once on the stalk. In fact, I just realized the sun came out. I'm just going to get past this traffic circle. In fact, we'll go around in a circle and we'll activate it then. So please hold caller. Oh, there's Model 3. I'll wave. Let's see if they wave back. They won't. No one waves here. Hello. Oh, no. Hello. No. Fair enough. He was concentrating on the road, which was probably the safer way to do it, instead of looking at a schmuck in a Model S waving at you crazily. Oh, there's that Model Y. I'm going to wave. Hello. No, those poor old people got very confused. Who's this person waving to us? Anyway, back to our scheduled programming. I'm going to turn on adaptive cruise control by pushing once back on the bottom stalk, and that turns on adaptive cruise control. And you see, there we go. There is one of the challenges with adaptive cruise control. We just had what's called phantom braking. And what happened there is that the car saw that other car parked on the side and thought that car might be coming out, or it was in my way, and so it started pushing down on the brakes. Now, it's not a big deal. All you have to do is push down on the accelerator and you keep going, but that's definitely a reason why you can't just switch off. I find adaptive cruise control exceptionally useful, particularly in low speed roads. Like a 50 kilometer zone is a perfect example for adaptive cruise control, because I find it challenging to actually maintain low speeds. And this is one of the cool things about having the full autopilot, the full full self-driving, but FSB, I think it's called, FSD. So the car just stopped because it said, oh, there's a set of lights coming. So I didn't tell the car to stop. It stops on its own. You can see it's got that red line there, so it's showing that it's stopped. And now let's see how enthusiastically it starts up. So, oh, okay, so it doesn't actually start. So you've actually got to push down on the accelerator, and I've just pushed the accelerator to get us through that, and it kept going. So as I was saying, I find it really useful for maintaining low speeds because I find I have to concentrate quite a bit to stay at 50. But here's what the full self-driving thing does. We're coming up to a traffic circle. It's saying stopping in 50 meters, 25 meters, and it will stop at this traffic circle, whether there is traffic or not. So you just put your foot slightly down on the accelerator and it will then carry on through there. So as you saw, not ideal, but I actually find the adaptive cruise control really useful in those sorts of situations with the full self-driving thing, with the traffic light thing, because, so for example, we were away, and here's the interesting thing. So it's going to try and stop at a green set of lights because it takes quite a while for it to realize that the lights are green. So it slows down quite a lot even when the lights are green. So far from perfect. But as I was saying, we were staying in Tauranga, well, we were staying in Papamoa, and there's this really long road called Papamoa Beach Road, and it's a 50k zone for ages, and every kilometer or so there's a traffic circle because the roads. So I found it really useful to have the adaptive cruise control switched on for that road because it would keep me at 50. It would slow down when it got to the traffic circle, so like here, and then I could just tap and push slightly on the accelerator to tell it no, you can, it's safe to continue through that traffic circle. So that's the adaptive cruise control. To turn on autopilot, push back twice on the bottom stalk, and you can see you get those little blue lines on either side of the car, and now the car is maintaining my speed, and the car just changed, it guided me through the change in traffic there because the center line became a lot wider. So it saw that and it moved. And again, it's going to try and stop at this traffic light because yes, I am driving around in circles. Oh, Model 3 wave. Nope, no wave back. If at any point you want to turn off the autopilot, just take over the steering, like sort of push a bit harder on the steering wheel, and the autopilot switches off, but the adaptive cruise control will stay on. If you want to turn the adaptive cruise control and the autopilot off, either push back on the stalk like that, or tap on the brake and it'll turn that off for you. I'm just going to go through this. If anyone's watching this, they're going to be like, why is this guy just driving up and down? And like, this guy must really like traffic circles because he seems to go around them all the time. But I wanted to show you something else on this road with autopilot, or at least discuss more with autopilot. So again, I'm going to turn autopilot on, double tap on the stalk, and I can then just push forward on the stalk, and that turns it off. And you know that autopilot is available if you've got that grey steering wheel in the dashboard. And where it will be available, where it won't be available, is dependent generally on the road markings. So if there's good road markings like there are on this road, then it's very easy for the autopilot to know where to stay in its lane. If there's no road markings, that little grey steering wheel will not be there and it will not be available. So my thoughts on autopilot. I really like autopilot. Now, I wouldn't use it on surface roads like this. I would use it on the freeway or the motorway or highway or whatever you call it. And the thing to keep in mind with it is it's not magic. Okay, it's not a self-driving car no matter what they tell you at the moment, particularly in Australia and New Zealand. And so you do still have to pay attention. Wait, I forgot. The reason why I was going down that was to show you what happens when you don't keep your hands on the steering wheel. So let me go back, and you see that the grey little steering wheel has disappeared because the road markings on this road are not great. So you see not great road markings and there's no steering wheel. And as soon as we get to this road again, we will get the little grey steering wheel and we will get autopilot available to us. There we go. So turn it on, and now I'm going to have my hands just sort of floating on the steering wheel, but I'm not actually going to be touching the steering wheel, and it needs to feel pressure from your hands. So not like pushing down, but like slightly, because our hands sort of move a little bit up and down on steering wheels in general when we're holding them. So you'll see now it'll complain very, very soon that I need to put my hands back on the steering wheel. There we go. Oh no, it's telling me about the traffic thing, and I'm just going to tell it to keep going through the traffic thing, and I'm paying very close attention, and it sees that it's a green light and that car's fine. So it's saying apply pressure, and if I don't apply pressure, it flashes in white, and so I've got to give the steering wheel a bit of a jiggle so that it doesn't turn itself off. If you don't give it that jiggle and put your hands back on the steering wheel, then the car will turn autopilot off and you have to take over manually, and you cannot turn autopilot back on until you've actually pulled over and parked the vehicle. So let's talk about my thoughts on autopilot. As I was saying, it's not magic. You do have to still pay attention to the road. Where I do find it really useful is driving on highways and freeways and motorways, and it's not that you can just turn on autopilot and then just let it drive itself. It's not going to do that. But what it does do is you're not constantly paying attention to what speed you're going, so that you'll be sort of just playing with the accelerator just to maintain your speed, and you're not having to focus all the time on maintaining yourself in the lane and making sure that you're getting that curve and that kind of thing. So I'd say you still have to, oh, I'm going way too fast. So you do still have to pay attention. See, I'm going to turn on adaptive cruise control because it's much easier for me to keep the car at 50, particularly while I'm talking and looking at the camera every now and again, which is not the safest thing in the world. I appreciate that. But now adaptive cruise control will maintain my speed. Interestingly enough, here's someone driving behind me. Now I'm driving to the speed limit. I'm dead on 50, and that guy was up my rear end. And quite frankly, unless you're going to buy me dinner first, I'd prefer if you didn't drive that way. So yeah, I seem to piss people off by driving to the speed limit. What was I talking about? Oh yes, autopilot. So I think autopilot's fantastic, although I do think that you still need to pay attention. That's I've said that many times. In fact, I'm just going to pull over so this guy can get past me, because he's just grumpy about me driving to the speed limit. There you go. You happy about that? Awesome. Happy days. One of the things I really like about electric cars, or at least what I found with Teslas, is they are really easy to do multiple point turns. I often get myself into these situations where I have to because I'm not the best driver in the world. In fact, I'm far from it. But and parking, I tell you, if someone said to me, like, how they go, oh, I couldn't parallel park to save my life. If someone put a gun to my head and said parallel park now perfectly the first time, I'd say shoot me now and let me die with dignity. But that's not what I want to talk about. So yeah, the backwards and forwards when you're parallel parking, if you're going under 5 kilometers an hour, you can, no, the light's green, thank you very much. So if you're going under 5 kilometers an hour, you can just flick up and down to switch between reverse and drive really quickly. So doing like multiple point turns is really easy on and I should have turned it right there, is really easy with an electric car. So that's a really cool thing about the driving experience. Now, I haven't talked about putting your foot down and going vroom. I'll show you that in another video, but to be honest, take my word for it, it goes really fast. It does 0 to 100 in 4 point something seconds, or 4.0 seconds, which it'll smack you back into the seat. So if you like a fast car, it's fast. So that's definitely a reason to purchase it. So let's summarize our thoughts on the Tesla Model S. I think it's a really good car. I've definitely enjoyed driving it. It's interesting because there's some features that the S has that my Y doesn't. So for example, I definitely think the seats are far more comfortable. Not far more comfortable, but they are more comfortable. I know if I drive for quite a long period of time in my Model Y, like a 4 or 5 hour drive, I do have to kind of shift a bit and adjust and so on. Whereas I've found in this Model S, like we did a 3.5 hour drive the other day, and I was fine the whole way, which was great. So definitely more comfortable seats. I do really like that it's got cooling as well as heating. That's a, if you'll pardon pun, that's a cool feature. I like the dashboard. I can live with, like, I don't have to have it, but it's definitely nice to have. Like, I do like having a dashboard. But it's funny, I haven't loved it as much as I thought I would. I thought I would get the dashboard and then be like, oh man, I really don't want to go back to my Y with just the screen in the middle. But, and again, this is a very personal thing. I'm fine without it. You know, yeah, I'd love to have it, but I don't have to have it. So I was surprised by that. I do think this is a slightly more comfortable drive. For the money, you'd hope so. But, and again, this isn't a fair comparison because this is a Model S that is 5, almost 6 years old. So it's missing things like the, you know, the blind spot and camera and things like that. And there's just little things that I prefer my Y with. Like if someone said to me, right, I'm going to give you $100,000, you can either buy a 2017 Model S or you can buy a performance Model Y, I get the performance Model Y. But again, it's not a fair comparison, and what's important to me may not be important to you. So, and if I was doing lots of long drives, the supercharging for life, the free supercharging for life of the car, that's definitely something that would be, you know, factoring in my decision making. But yeah, no, overall, it's a lovely car. I've had a lot of fun driving it, but I'm quite keen and eager to get home and get back in my Model Y. So it's been a very interesting experience. Hi, so this is future voiceover Lee just jumping in to say there's been some developments since I recorded this video. So I recorded this video early January 2023, and it's now sort of later January 2023. And since then I've gone back and checked on car sales in Australia, and you can now find a slightly better than this model 2017 Model S in Australia for $63,000. In fact, you can even find a 2015 model for $57,000. Now, whilst that doesn't necessarily change my mind, and I would still prefer my Model Y over this 2017 Model S, I think it does change the equation. And if you were in the market for an electric car and you couldn't afford a Model 3 or a Model Y, you know, brand new, it's definitely worth having a look at these older Model S's. And I mean, obviously secondhand, there's always a challenge there, so you'd have to check all that kind of stuff out. But it does make the decision, I think, a little bit more challenging, and it's not as clean cut as, oh, just go for the new one. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope that you've learned a few things. Maybe it's stimulated some thoughts and some yeah, I hope it's been helpful. If it has, and you have liked it, please like and subscribe. If you have already subscribed, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Feel free to share with all your friends and get the channel as big as possible. That'd be lovely. And yeah, I guess we'll catch you on the next one. Safe and happy driving. I swear the birds in New Zealand are all on a mission to get hit by cars. They wait till the very last second. That pigeon, anyway, I digress. So, oh, yeah, okay, don't go smashing stuff. But it's a bit slow to accelerate. Like this lady behind me is getting a bit frustrated, so I'll just kick it in the guts a bit. See, this lady behind me thought that I wasn't gonna go anywhere. See, look at this. So I'm doing 55 in a 50 zone, and this lady is riding right up my rear end because I have the nerve to only go 5 kilometers over the speed limit. Folks, leave a little bit earlier, chill out. Driving should be pleasant, and anyway, I'm not going to get on my high horse there because I can't reach the high horse because I'm so short. It's a bad joke, but I'm going to stick to it.